Welcome everyone. Thanks for attending my session, Flutter, the next frontier in mobile development. I'm Kamal, I'm an Android, Flutter, and a YouTuber. So before I start, I would like to know how many of you have tried Flutter or working on a Flutter project? Okay. Oh, I'm gonna have a lot of questions. Okay. So to start up with, I'm gonna begin with Flutter from a developer's point of view, very exclusive, developer's point of view, because at the end of the day, we are the one who's gonna use it, not the managers. So we're gonna cover all the core concept that makes Flutter really stand out in the app market. So to begin with, I would be covering about why Flutter. How easy is it to integrate animation in Flutter? The state management, the packages, demo, and there are some plugs from the Flutter team. It's really exciting and cool announcements. So stay tuned and let's dive into Flutter. So me from an Android background, I was like, what's this Flutter? Not another language again. A new Dart? What is this all about? And then I started looking deep into it. Trust me, when I started Flutter, hands down, I'm not turning back. This is the toolkit for me. And that's how my journey into Flutter started. And maybe by the end of the session, I'll also try to motivate you to give your hands dirty on Flutter. So to talk about Flutter, the definition says it's the beautiful UI toolkit developed exclusively for developers by Google to create high performance, high quality apps in Flutter. Is it all about Flutter? Definitely not. We have a few core concepts that really makes this framework stand out in the market. When I say beautiful, am I talking about the design? No. I'm talking about this highly integrated Skia 2D graphics engine. And also, I'm talking about their high quality pixel that you can actually control over the screen. That is what I'm talking about the beautiful. When I talk about the community and open source, that is open source. So definitely you will have community contributions. The community is so large and growing that you can find all ways to contribute, whether it could be Slack, it could be Twitter, it could be GitHub, it could be Reddit, Discord, you name one, you can contribute. And in the past month, we had an update, which was a major update, which was Flutter 1.9, where almost we had 1,500 pull requests with more than 100 plus contributions. So that is all because of developers like us. So if you have to talk about the community, it's growing, and you'll all find ways to connect to the community. So if you want to connect, let me know. I'll help you getting connected with the Flutter team. Next, coming to the fast. When I say fast, do I have a value to say, okay, this Flutter framework is going to be faster than this framework by so much of speed? No. I'm talking about the fast is that it provides this glitch-free, jank-free, beautiful UIs where it has the Skia rendering engine, which is same for the Chrome, Android. It's the same engine. So that's how it renders things at the native speed of the device. And also the beauty about Flutter is that everything is a widget. You talk about a column, it's a widget. A row, it's a widget. Expandable widget. So this gives the capability of achieving a same app in different platform. Next, moving on to the trending. Last week, according to the GitHub, Flutter was named as one of the top 10 GitHub repos. And according to the IEEE, it is Dart. Dart, in fact, is the language behind Flutter. So if you have to work on Flutter, you need to know Dart. If you're from a Kotlin or a Java background or JavaScript, learning Dart would just take 2 hours, not more than that. So if you're learning Dart, it was considered as one of the trending languages, and that's how the community is growing. All right, so you say, Kamal, Flutter is beautiful, you have a greater community, you have open source, you have everything. As a developer, if this app is, or if this language or this framework is not productive, definitely I'm not going to choose it. So how is this Flutter so productive? There's this amazing feature called hot reload. You should definitely try to experience it. When you try it for the first time, I said I'm no more turning back. Because if I want to see a change on an app, I can get it instantly without having to restart or lose a state of an app. So that's the productivity I'm talking about. So these are the core features about Flutter. So first, to start off with an animation. Tell me an app which does not have an animation. You have everywhere animation. It's become an integral part of a mobile app development. Everybody demands for an animation. Now, how easy is it to integrate animations in Flutter? Is that you need a designer to do it, and then you need to write 100 lines of code to do it, and then integrate it? No. We have several ways to achieve it. So the first one, these are a couple of my sample apps that I do in Flutter. So if you look at the first one, it's the chart displaying a data. Now, if I had to do it in a static way, definitely it wouldn't look good. So I have 3 tabs with a bar, pie, and a line graph. And every time I click on the tab, it gets loaded and a UI is redrawn. That's the beauty of Flutter. And the second one, it's quite interesting. The icon is a widget, the slider is a widget, and the text that displays the rating is another widget. So I tried connecting all the 3. So as and when I slide, the icon changes and the value also gets updated. And this is all possible with Flutter. And it's just few lines of widgets, that's it. And the third one, it's a more pretty interesting one. We have a widget called Custom Paint. And with this widget, I can just do geometry shapes, which is circle, triangle, rectangle, and you can keep going on. So tell me which manager or which client would ask you to just draw shapes? Nobody would ask you to do that. So I was thinking of an use case, and that's when I came up with the I/O 2019 transition, and I said, what better way to do this? So I was able to do that with just the animation part. So all this is purely widgets and a little bit of animations. So then you might ask me, Kamal, you know what? Learning animations or integrating, is it really difficult? Should I learn something? Should I get deep dive into animations? No. All you have to do is just know 3 concepts: ticker, animation, controller. That's it. You're good to go with animations in Flutter. So when I talk about ticker, it's like ticking off your page. So for every tick, I want some new values to be updated. Whether it could be a color, it could be a text font size, or it could be an image resizing. So that's the ticker job. Next is the animation. Animation is the one which the exact animation is done. Or it's the value. In the next slide, you'll get to know more details about it. The controller, obviously the manager, who controls everything. Whether you want to go forward, reverse, loop, it controls your animation. So if I have to represent this in a block, the controller sits in the top. He takes the tween. Tween is nothing but the value. Say I want to resize an image from so many pixels to so many pixels. That's my tween. And then my duration, how long I want the animation to take place. Curve, what type of animation? Is it ease in or ease out or bounce in, bounce out? That's the data that we feed. And then the controller takes all these values and feeds it to the output. So the output is not an animation, it's the animated values. And now you take these animated values and feed it to your UI so that the Flutter is redrawn for every frame or each frame. So that's how animation literally works in Flutter. I have a habit of always relating things with real-time example. So if I have to explain someone what animation is with the Shree concept, I can say just, do you know how Flipbook works? The ticker is the page, the controller is my finger or the tool that I'm using to flip the page, and the animated values are the content that keeps changing. That's it. You know what's animation in Flutter. So this is the best way to learn animation. Then you might come saying, Kamal, you know what? I'm not so much into explicit animations. I really don't want to do learn about tween, the duration and all. Is there any way that I can really work on animation? I'm really good at designing. So do you have a tool for it? I would say yes. We have a tool called ToDimensions from Flare. This tool is a highly animated tool, exclusively designed for designers and developers to create highly animated characters in your games or apps. So these are one such examples. You can look at the teddy on whatever. It keeps looking as and when you type it. And The other one is the dragon. So these all are the characters created using this open design tool. This is something like GitHub. It's an open source. You can contribute, you can fork, you can push, you can do all kinds of things. There's private and public repo. And the best part about this tool is whatever you design there is what you get in your app. So you don't have to have a designer and then animate it and then write 100 lines of code to do it. No, all goes in one shot. Get this done on your Flare and then upload it in your, export that file into your Flutter application, use a widget, that's it, you're done. So that's how Flutter is flexible in terms of animation. And please do visit this Flare site and the 2Dimensions. They have few more complicated design things, like they have the bone structures and they do a lot of animations with it. Then you might say, Kamal, you know what? I'm not interested in explicit animation. I'm not a good designer. You know what? I'm someone who's always looking for something ready-made. I just want to pick it up and go grab it and go on with it. So what do? We have something called packages. So if I'm talking about packages, we have thousands of packages in Flutter. Say, for example, you want something like a curved navigation bar. All you have to do is go to pub.dev website, pick up this particular navigation called as curved navigation, just update it in your pub spec file, and you're good to go. You'll get this tab bar, that's it. If you're really lazy like me sometimes, yeah. And then you have these animations, you have buttons, you have avatar glow, which gives that glowing effect behind. So there are tons of packages available. And in coming slides, I'll let you know how to create packages also. Interesting, state management. So whenever people get to know about Flutter, they have a UI and they quickly jump into the state management. And there's this huge discussion going around. Okay, you know what, this state management is good. No, this is better than that. So before jumping into the state managements in Flutter, it's always important to understand this. In Flutter, every time a UI is redrawn when a state gets updated. That's the core basic functionality. So what happens behind the screen when you're doing that? So this is a function which is calling itself with state as the input and the output is the UI. So when the state gets changed, your UI gets redrawn. So that's how Flutter works. And there you have like state widget, stateful widget, and a lot of other concepts. So we have several state management techniques in Flutter. The first one is block, set state, MVC, provider. Provider got released this year at the Google I/O. Then we have mobx, redux, inherited widget. Now, as I mentioned, I relate everything with real-time example. I know it's not the right time to have ice cream. So whenever I feel like having ice cream and I go to the ice cream parlor, I find so many flavors. I'm like, which am I going to try? So first thing, either I do a taste test, or second, I ask him, okay, or her, what do you think is the best flavor? What should I try? So similar way, state management, if you want to try it, if you want to use one of them in your project, give it a try. Understand how it works. And it's not necessary that if you like mobx, that I have to do the same in my project. I can go for Redux. So do a taste test, analyze it, and then start coding it. That's the best way to do, or deal with state management. And there's no bad or right flavors, right? It's basically, it depends on what your palette on that particular day is looking for. So similar way, there is no bad or good state management. It totally depends on what your project requirement is and how you're comfortable with it and how you pick it up. Now, there are certain things that you need to consider while choosing a state management. Say, for example, if you are reusing your code several times in a single app, or you're updating your UI very frequently, or if you want to separate the business and the presentation logic, which is very important, or if you're passing a state from one screen or one activity or one view, then you go for state management. And also, there is another few more points that you need to consider. Understand your requirement. Say, for example, I have a simple page with a counter and the text gets displayed depending on the counter that you click, either it's increment or decrement. Do you think I'm going to go for a complicated block for that? Definitely not. I'm sure the block boiler code is more than the app itself. So why would I go for that? I would go for a simple set state. So understand the requirement, set your goals and expectations, check for the complexity of the project, and then the style. The reason I mention style is, say for example, I'm comfortable with provider, but the team that I'm working with are using block. I'm not going to sit and fight saying, okay, no, you know what? I'm not going to use block because I'm pretty comfortable with provider. No, you need to be flexible in using it. There's nothing wrong in using it. It's just that you need to look for your project requirement. Next, moving on to Flutter packages. We have almost thousands of packages created every day in Dart, and they're purely Dart. Say for example, and in fact, everyday day-to-day life, you have to use packages. Say if you want to communicate with the Google Maps, you need a package. You want to connect with the database, you need a package. You need to make an HTTP call, you need a package. So you have these thousands of packages screaming. Now which one to choose as a developer if you're new to Flutter? There are certain rules that you need to follow. And you can find all these packages on the website pub.dev. So first thing you need to look for is the build status and the version. You need to check how frequently releases are happening on this package. And there is also another parameter called score. The moment you create a package, packages are open source. You can create and you can add it. The moment you create a package and add it on this particular site, you get a score to your package, which is like a maintenance overall score, how frequently you maintain it, how frequently you do releases or solve issues, or how the compatible issues are resolved here. So if your score is 100, trust me, blindly you can use that package. And most of the Google packages are 100. And then you look for the compatibility. Right now we are in Dart 2. Dart 1, there were a lot of packages created during that period, and there are still people who do not migrate it to Dart 2. So please do not use those packages. Check for the compatibility also. And in the next screen, I'll show you all those details where you can find. And then you have something called author. The author is a section which tells you the details about the package owner. Most of the time you would find a Google owner. So if it is a Google owner, you can blindly use the package because you will have immense support from them and you can track them as well. And there's this interesting section called GitHub, and I'll show you where to look for that as well. And then look for the installation and examples. So whatever details I've been talking about, this is the section. So the first one is the version. So here it's a simple package called HTTP to make the network call. So you find the version and the version name and the details. And on the right corner, no, the left corner, you see the author, that's from Google. And then you find those black, orange, green buttons which talk about the status, whether it's passing or not. And then this blue icon which says 100, so that means it's a clickable one. If you click on it, it shows you the overall maintenance score, how much this package weighs. So sometimes it might be 80. So before using them, try to look at the versions and also look at the installation details when you're using those packages. And if you look at the section called About, there is a link called GitHub repository. Now why I say this is very important is, say tomorrow I learn Flutter and I come up with a package. I don't want to duplicate a package. So instead I can click on this GitHub repo, check if they're already working on an issue or a functionality that I'm looking for. Instead of creating a new package, you could actually contribute to them. So that way you are also a part of this package repo. So it's very important to look into this, and also you will have a provision to see how this package was created in case if you would like to learn about this package. So that's the website, and these are the details about it. So these are a couple of examples, and all of this can be found on my GitHub repo. And the first one, I've used a flip card package. So it's just flipping of your card. And so what I thought, I'll use it like a business card where I have an image and added a text and few details. And similarly, like the other one, it is the slider widget, and the star is another widget which actually generates this star. So I've connected them so that as and when I slide, I'm getting the feedback triggered. Next, This is another example of mine where the first one I've used a chart sparkline package where it gives you kind of a dashboard appearance of your chart, and as and when you click on it you get a more detailed version of it. And the next one is a staggered grid view widget, the package that I've used to give you the Instagram kind of photo look. So all this was done just by using the package. Look for the package, add it in your PubSpec file, use the installation instructions. That's it. You can get whatever you think. The best part about the Flutter is if I look at a particular design, I can immediately get it on Flutter. That's how flexible it is. So that's how I was able to create all these designs using Flutter. So you say, Kamal, you know what? You find so many packages. Now say, what if I want to create one? How do I do it? It is possible. So head to the flutter.dev website, create packages. You can do one. You can customize, avoid duplications. Sometimes people tend to give a name different from the content of the package. They say this package is going to generate star feedback, but there's nowhere feedback or star or icons about that particular package name. So look for the details before avoiding duplications and then create a package. And yeah, it's really easy if you know Dart. So if you have some basic knowledge about Dart, you can go ahead with package creations. So on the same line, I thought I'll talk about, or I'll give a demo on a particular package which is called the Webview Flutter. Now this package was definitely created by the Google team. So the best part about this package is, say for example, you created a Flutter app and you want to display a web page without opening the mobile browser. It's possible by just using this package. Or say for example, I'm from a web background and I've developed this payment option on a website and I would like to integrate that particular option in my Flutter app. How do I do it? It's possible with this Webview Flutter. So today I'll show you a simple demo of it. So first, what you do is get this package details, update it in your PubSpec file, and then import the package. So in Flutter, the beauty of Flutter is everything is like a tree structure. So even though it looks like a simple English sentences, you know what exactly is happening on the screen. So if you look at this, it's a single child scroll view. That means I'm going to have a single child scroll view in my app. And then the child of this is going to be a column widget, because I'm going to have 3 buttons, one below the other. And then I'm going to align these buttons to the center. And then the cross alignment, I'm going to stretch the button. It's like just telling a story to someone, you know. It's like it goes one below the other, like a tree structure. Then I'm going to have an array of children widgets. So this is how a Flutter Dart code looks like. Then I have a web button. So now this web button is my custom function where I'm designing a button and I'm giving a context, giving an article link and an article text. So in a minute I'll let you know what this actually does. So I have 3 buttons. So when I do this, this is how it looks like. So I have a single child scroll view, main axis alignment, center, stretching, 3 buttons, and the text details are displayed. Now I'm going to design these buttons. Now how it looks like. So it's nothing but a web view. When I click on Medium, it goes to the Medium article. When I click on the plugin, it goes to the plugin details. GitHub, it goes to the GitHub page. That's it. It's very simple. So we had defined the web button. Now what does this web button take? It takes 3 parameters. One is the context, URL, and the button text. So everything is inside a container. Container is a kind of placeholder where you place all your widgets. So I'm just giving a padding to the container. So this is the orange button that I'm defining. So you have flat button, you have raised buttons, you name them, you have it. So I'm using a flat button. And then for the flat button, I'm giving a color, which is a primary color, which I've already defined in my material. And then I have a padding again inside it with a vertical of 15. And then inside the padding, I have a text. So it's the button with padding and the text. So the button text comes from the parameter, which I've defined in the function. And then I give a style with a color white and on press. So that's when I click on it, it has to do something. That is, it has to go to a web page. That's where my web view container comes into picture. Now let's define the web view container. So in the web view container, what I have is a URL and a final key. I'll let you know what this actually does in a minute. So I have a web view container, and it takes a URL parameter. Now the scaffold is the main in Flutter, where everything lies underneath it. And then I have an app bar at the body, the column, which is a column widgets, and it's an expanded widget. And inside this, I have a web view with key. Now, why do I use a key is to identify a particular button. Say there are lots of buttons. How does the Flutter identifies this is the button that I've clicked? So it needs to have a particular key. So that's where I go there. And then I say JavaScript unrestricted. And the initial URL is the URL that I pass. That's it. So all I did was I laid the layout by saying, okay, I need the app bar, I need a column of buttons, and then I designed the button, and then I said, okay, if I click on this button, what will happen? That's it. So when I do that, the first button, when I click on the medium, it leads to the WebView article, which was written by one of the Google developer expert. I mean, a Google employee, in fact, Emily. She has in fact spoke about WebView. And then if I click on the plugin, it takes me to the plugin details. And if I click on the GitHub page, it takes me to the GitHub repo of this package, where you can find out how this package was built, and also you can look into the issues related to this package. Next, the most anticipated topic, Flutter Web. Now, during this year, Google 2019, they made Flutter Web public. If you look at it, the design, the performative native experience is same as mobile. It's just that with few initial setup, you can get your same Flutter app running on your web. And also with few changes with your responsiveness. Say for example, I want a 3 grid and then a 2 grid and a single grid on an app. That's the only setup that you change, or else your code remains the same with both mobile and web. But warning, it's still not in the production mode. Another 5 or 6 months, you will have it fully fledged production mode so that you can start working on it. And right now it's in the prototype and the beta phase. So please do not try using it on your production. Try using it on your prototype phase. Now if you ask me, Kamal, should I go first learning Flutter mobile and then web, or should I go with web and then mobile? Go with the mobile, learn about the widgets, how to create it, that's it. If you know this, all you have to do is just add a new package and the build method is different, that's it. The code remains the same. Now when I say the code remains the same, how is it? I'm using the same code. Every time you keep talking about single code base, how is this all happening? Now, if I'm a developer, I would definitely like to know what is the scene behind it. So for that, you need to understand the architecture of Flutter Web and mobile. The one on the right side is the mobile, and one on the left side is the web. So first thing on the mobile. So for the first, the green section is the framework. Here, all your animations, all your material or Cupertino, depending on your Android or iOS, lies on this. And this is entirely written in Dart. At this point, I would like to mention an app called Reflectly. It was built by one of the European teams, and it's been nominated for so many awards because of this custom design and animation that they have used. Please do check it out. It's kind of a journaling app. So if you look at their design, they are entirely to a different level. That's how they could use Flutter and use it with a custom design here. And then you have widgets. So whatever we've been talking about widgets in Flutter, that's where it lies. And then your animations, your paintings and gesture, and whatever the logic code of Dart that you write, it all lies in this framework. Then next comes the engine. We've been talking about Flutter being very fast because of this hardware accelerated Skia 2D graphics engine, which is unpinned in both Android and Chrome. This is what that Skia we are talking about, the engine. So here all the Skia part is done. The last layer is platform specific. So it's mobile or if it's web. Now, if you look at both of these framework, there is one section which is common and unchanged. So that's the framework. Now, that's actually responsible for porting your UI from mobile to web. And that's how you get single code base. And the rest is the browser part, which is the rendering of your DOM and binding of your DOM and HTML5 and getting it on the canvas, and all that is done by the JavaScript. So if someone asks you, how is it single code base, you can talk about the architecture. This is what is the reason behind it. So one such example is I've created here is, I started a Flutter app. I created this on a Flutter mobile. I did not do it on the web. And then all I had to do was just do a setup. That's it. And the responsiveness. And I was able to get it on my web app also. So that's how, if you learn Flutter mobile, you can do it on web. So this is a 3-grid. So it's responsive to, and on your mobile, it looks like this. And similarly, I created another interesting design of a dashboard where it has this 4, 3, 2 kind of a structure. So when you try to do responsive, it also gets into responsiveness, like 3 and 2 grids. All right, I have some plugs from the Flutter team. So we have a Flutter Interact that's happening on December 11th, 2019 in Brooklyn. In case if you're not able to be there personally, you can click on this link. It is going to be live streamed. There's a viewing party, so you can get to meet all kinds of Flutter work that's been done. And also, we have a mysterious countdown clock that's happening on Flutter. So if you click on the link, flutter.dev.clock, another 4 days, there is an announcement that's happening. It could be related to Fuchsia, it could be related to desktop. Not sure about it, what's happening. So stay tuned for it. If you're a Flutter enthusiastic, look out for it. And also we have a lot of Slack group that's happening related to Flutter. It could be either Flutterist or Flutterista. So if you're interested to know how you can join it, because it's a private group, just let me know. I can get you connected with the concerned team. And yeah, this is the code. So whatever demos you've been seeing, whatever the codes you're finding, you can find on this official Flutter site. And packages and the 2Dimensions. Please do try out the 2Dimension tool if you're really good at designing. You have awesome repos being created by different teams, and you can just fork it and start working on it. And the packages is the pub.dev. And there is also another one called Flutter Samples, where you have all the sample repositories, whoever is created, Flutter Packages. And we had also seen about the curved navigation bar, the simple animation. So if you'd like to explore about these packages, you can find there. Yeah, and I was talking about the Flutter sample. You can find there, and the avatar glow. Oh, by the way, this is Dash. It's the mascot for Dart. So wherever we go, you find this, that means they are a part of Flutter team. So yeah, so I think Keen can help you to find one if you're interested to find this plush. All right, so we've been seeing about animations. We've been seeing about state management. We've seen what is packages, how to do it. Now, what's the future of Flutter? Desktop. That's going to come. It's again a single code base where you just write one and you can run it on your mobile, you can run it on your web, you can have a desktop. So that's how flexible Flutter is. And keeping all this in mind, I think Flutter is the next frontier in mobile development. Thank you so much.